The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Weekly Forecast.
Hey guys, this is a weekly forecast for November 29th through December 3rd of 2021. Alright, we'll start out with the Eurjpy pair. This is a weekly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So the last weekly long trade that formed was right here, with a stop loss at this pivot low right here. Then a couple months back, it was actually compact short price action that formed, which shows strong short strength right at this level right here, with its stop loss at this pivot high right here. And for the time being, since this compact short price action is stronger than the last weekly long trade, in the long term I'm short biased right back down to this pivot low as a target. And moreover, in the last month, price gave a nice pullback to that short trade stop loss level, which was right here. For another short trade, however, price already hit its short-term target right at this price level right here, where a lower time frame long trade exists. And since that target was hit last week, in the short term, I'm neutral biased. Okay, let's talk entries. Alright, we'll stay on this weekly chart. Let me run you by the setup I've been looking at for the past couple of months. So again, the last weekly long trade that form was right here with this stop loss at this pivot low right here. And then at this point right here, there was a short trade that was weaker than this last weekly long trade. And so as price pulled back, I was looking for long entries right up to this pivot high as a target. Furthermore, another weak short trade formed. And so again, as price pulled back, I was looking for long entries right back up to this pivot high as a target. And then there were actually two short trades that were stronger than the last weekly long trade. However, both these short trades hit its target at a monthly gap level that runs right through these levels. And so again, I was long biased and looking for long entries right back to this pivot high as a target. And then furthermore, like I mentioned earlier, there was compact short price action that formed at this level right here, which is stronger than the last weekly long trade right here. And so if you recall, this pullback area right here, roughly at 132.30, I took a short entry with a stop loss at this pivot high right here, and its main target for the time being at that last weekly long trade stop loss level, which is right here. And so after I took that short entry, price fell nicely right down to these levels right here. However, in the beginning of the month of October, which is at this price level right here, there are new monthly trend lines that formed right through these levels right here, along with a monthly gap that also runs through these levels, which could have possibly provided as a target for that short entry I mentioned earlier. And so I was watching the lower time frames as price pulled back to confirm lower time frame strength long. And on the lower time frames, there were confirmation of strong long strength. And so I aborted half of that position at 131.30, roughly in these levels right here, while maintaining the same stop loss level, which is at this pivot high right here. And then for the last month and a half, as you guys know, I took a leave from trading due to medical issues. And so due to that fact, I aborted the entire position roughly in and around the same levels at 131.30. Now, a key point I want to mention is that although as price came up to these levels right here with lower confirmation of strong long strength, when price began to approach that stop loss level I was mentioning earlier, that strong long strength on the lower time frames began to dissipate. And so ideally, if I did not have to take a leave due to medical conditions, I would have taken another short entry on this pullback, again with the same stop loss level, which is at this pivot high right here, and its main target at that last weekly long trade stop loss level. And then for the past month or so, price just came right back down to prior levels. And so the weekly bias is still short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. Okay, and for the time being, in order for price to get to that main target way below, I want to see monthly price to break out of those strong monthly levels that I mentioned earlier. So let's go over to the monthly chart. Alright, so on this monthly chart, there's a couple price elements that are providing a lot of long strength. So let me just go over all of those for you. Okay, so the first element that's providing long strength is this medium-sized gap that's right here. Now the levels for that would be on the upper end, that would be 129.38, and the lower end of the gap would be at 128.55. Okay, and moreover, there's a legitimate trend line that's also providing long strength, so that's from this pivot to this pivot right here. And moreover, we have two horizontal trend lines also. Now, one of those horizontal trend lines are attached to this pivot right here, and the other to this pivot right here. Okay, so as you can see, there's a confluence of strong long elements at this level. Alright, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about in terms of legitimate trend lines and median gaps and whatnot, please watch my price action trading course, and that should clear it up for you. Okay, so in terms of that weekly bias right back down to this pivot low as a target, the first thing I want to see is for monthly price to close past all these monthly elements that are providing long strength. Alright, and moreover, for educational purposes, like I mentioned earlier, as price pulled back in these areas before I took the medical leave, I did abort half that position roughly at this 131.30 level right here. So let me go ahead and show you what that's all about. So let's go over to the 1 hour chart. Alright, so in the month of October, that confluence of monthly long strong elements formed at this level right here, which could have possibly been a target for my weekly short entry. And so as price pulled back to these levels right here, I was still okay with holding that last short position. However, on the 5-minute chart in this area right here, there was actually a legitimate 5-minute double top that formed. Now, as you guys know, a legitimate double top should reach its target height level, roughly in this level, before reaching the second peak's stop loss level right here. However, what actually happened at that 5-minute double top that formed in this area was that price just fell a little bit, then came right back up and stopped out the stop loss level before reaching its target height level. And so at that point, that told me that there was lower time frame strong long strength, because although this double top did provide short-term short strength, price was still able to override that short strength and reach its stop loss level before reaching its target height level. And so that showed me the possibility that perhaps those monthly long elements was strong enough to become a target for that last weekly short entry. And so as price fell down right here and pulled right back up to stop out that stop loss level right here, I aborted half that short position roughly in these areas at 131.30. And then moreover, as price came up to these levels right here, as you guys know, I took a leave from trading due to medical issues, and since I was unable to watch the charts, I aborted the remaining of that position roughly in these areas right here. Okay, and moreover, like I mentioned earlier, if I were to be trading as price pulled back to these levels right here, to roughly these 133.40 levels right here, recall that my stop loss for that short entry was at the 133.70 levels right here. And thus this would have been a great short entry with minimal risk, which is about 30 pips. And the reason why I would have taken this short entry, although there was strong lower time frame long strength in these areas right here, that lower time frame long strength began to dissipate roughly in these areas as price began to get close to that stop loss level of that short entry at 133.70. Now the way I would have been able to tell that this short-term long strength was in fact dissipating is because on the 5-minute chart in this area right here, there was another legitimate double top that formed. However, in this case, price reached its target height level, roughly at these heights right here, before reaching the second peak stop loss level. And so in other words, this strong lower time frame long strength gradually began to lose its momentum, and which consequently shows that this entire move up was just a pullback in a higher time frames short bias. Alright, so one thing to keep in mind is that when you're using the lower time frames to decide whether a higher time frames bias, in this case which was short, is correct or not, even if initially price shows opposing strong long strength on these lower time frames, you should basically not take out the entire position due to only one price pattern that shows opposing lower time frame strength. Now that's especially if the stop loss is still way up at higher levels, For like in this case, price could gradually dissipate that lower time frame long strength as price reaches that stop loss level for that higher time frame short bias. Alright, and so finally, let me just show you what I'll be looking for in terms of short entries along with that higher time frame short bias in the coming weeks. So let's go back to the weekly chart. Okay, so again on this weekly chart, the long-term bias is short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. And so obviously, if we get another pullback right up to these levels right here, perhaps near the 132.30 levels right here, I'll be willing to take another short entry. Again, with the stop loss at this pivot high right here and its main target right here. However, moreover, I'll also be looking on the daily charts to see if there are any new biases that form there. So in other words, I'll be waiting for a daily long trade to form, and then a daily short trade to form. And if this short trade is stronger than this long trade, then I'll be willing to take a short entry. In this case, with the stop loss at the pivot high where that hypothetical daily short trade formed, and its initial target at the stop loss level or where that week daily long trade formed, and perhaps leaving a little bit in to see if it could reach the weekly short trade's main target at these levels right here. Okay, and I want to thank all of you for sticking around while I took this medical leave for about a month and a half. And a special thank you to those of you who sent me kind words of encouragement while I was getting treated for my condition. I truly appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Alright, so gradually, as my condition improves, I'll be getting back to the normal rhythm of my posts and uploads. Okay, so that's it for the weekly forecast. I hope you guys have a great week. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.